As much as I loved Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I did love many aspects of it, I still had several critiques. The biggest one was that while the majority of the game is centered on the idea of research, that gets thrown out the window for all major plot points. Your whole job as a member of the Galaxy Team Survey Corps is to do research, to learn more about Pokemon. And yet, whenever anything important is happening, whether you're soothing a frenzied lord, looking for the Lake Guardians, or catching a creator deity, the game turns into a sequence of cutscenes where you are told exactly what to do, if not just walked right through the actual doing. So today, I'm rewriting Pokemon Legends Arceus. Specifically, I'm reframing the major events to better serve the gameplay and the themes of the game. The overarching plot and the characters will, for the most part, stay the same. Let's get into it. You start in a void, where a glowing light gives you a mission to seek out all Pokemon. Next thing you know, you awake, washed up on Prelude Beach, where Professor Laventon and his troop of starter Pokemon find you. Your memories are fuzzy where they're not completely missing, but at least you know your name and what Pokemon are. Laventon asks for your help rounding up his Pokemon, and it turns out you're quite good with a Pokeball if a little rusty. So Laventon takes you under his wing, escorts you to Jubilife Village, and vouches for you to become a member of the Galaxy Team Survey Corps. You'll have to work, but at least you'll have room and board until you can figure out what's going on. As a brand new recruit and a complete stranger in town, you start at the bottom, but it quickly becomes clear through your training and early assignments that you are very skilled, both at catching Pokemon and at commanding them in battle. Before long, you're a rising star with the trust of your colleagues. Commander Kamado introduces you to Adaman and Irida, who bicker like old lovers but manage to tell you about the different areas of Hisui. Within each area are two noble Pokemon, rare and respected Pokemon that feature prominently in the region's legends. And overseeing each area are two wardens, one from each clan. The wardens know their areas and the Pokemon that live there better than anyone else in their clan, and you can often meet them wandering around their areas. I wanted to reduce the connection between specific wardens and specific nobles. To me, it just makes more sense to have their connection be to the land in general. It also makes it a little bit easier later to let some of the missions focus on exploration and research, but we'll get to that. Kamado gives you your first assignment. You must help Mai, who is the Obsidian Fieldlands warden for the Diamond Clan, deal with the Cricketune that is acting agitated and preventing the Deer Track Heights camp from getting set up. Laventon suggests that offering it food might be enough to calm it down, so you go off to research Kricketot and Cricketune and find out what kinds of food they like. Alpha Cricketune before was supposed to be your introduction to Alpha Pokemon, but to me that's not important. That's the kind of thing that you can do through a simple line of dialogue during your training. Instead, this feeding setup introduces you to how you're going to deal with frenzied Pokemon later. You come back with the information in hand, and some of the food items you've collected. Mai shows you how she wraps food into little packets. Her Munchlax always eats too much, but by wrapping the food just right, she can make a little bit of food go a long way. This is a crafting recipe, but it's unique in that you can choose what food item to wrap up, and you can get 5 bombs for each food item. Infinite bombs that you are granted just didn't make any sense to me. This way you are forced to collect the ingredients and wrap them up yourself, but you can accumulate them pretty easily. You craft a bomb from Cricketune's favorite food. Since the Pokemon is agitated and you can't get close, you toss the bomb on the ground near where it stands. Cricketune approaches it slowly at first, but eats it, lets out a final and wanders away. As it turns out, Weirdeer, one of the noble Pokemon of the area, witnessed your deed and approved of your non-violent approach, enough to both award you the Mind Plate and allow you to ride it. With a new camp and mount, you can more easily explore the farther reaches of the Fieldlands. An enormous tree catches your eye out in the Heartwood, so you make your way there. But when you arrive, you are ambushed by a glowing and aggressive Kleavor. You try to battle it, but it's no good. Your attacks seem to have no effect on Kleavor, and its attacks do incredible amounts of damage. You have no option but to flee. I think it's important for us to encounter frenzied Pokemon before we know how to deal with them. It really shows us why it's important to research and prepare ahead of time. Leon, the Pearl Clan's warden for the Obsidian Fieldlands, happens to be nearby and comes to help you. He is surprised that you managed to escape the noble Kleavor in one piece. Other travelers haven't been so lucky. You tell him about how you calmed down Cricketune and ask if he knows what kind of food Kleavor likes. He doesn't, but he tells you that Kleavor is related to Scyther, and maybe you can study the Scyther that are nearby. So you do that, and before too long you return to the Grand Tree, this time armed with an armful of bombs. Cleavor attacks you again, and this time you have 2 bars at the top of the screen, an HP bar and a feeding bar, each one divided into 3 segments. You have to try to feed Cleavor as it tries to attack you, dodging as you toss bombs on the floor near where it stands. If you get the bomb close enough, Cleavor eats it, reducing the feeding bar. You have to feed it 3 times before clearing 1 segment. And when you do, Cleavor still seems angry, but its glow is reduced, and you can finally engage it in battle to try to wear it down. Until, that is, you clear its first HP bar, at which point the glow returns, and you must feed it again. You're not just throwing bombs at Pokemon, you're throwing food to them. The point is to alternate feeding the Pokemon to calm them down, and battling them to tire them out. Only once you clear its 3rd HP bar do you finally defeat it, and its glow is gone for good. As Cleavor leaves the Grand Tree Arena, you find the stone plate left behind. Leon, Mai, Laventon, and even Kamado commend you for soothing Cleavor's frenzy and for knowing when to use your mind and when to use your power. You've earned a well-deserved rest. The next day you meet Orezu, Warden of the Crimson Mirelands for the Diamond Clan. She is in town to warn Kamado of the raging Ursaluna. Since you did so well with Cleavor, Kamado sends you along with Laventon to investigate. You're instructed to seek out Kalaba, the Pearl Clan's local warden, to see if she has any insights. You meet Kalaba at the Salation Ruins. She refuses to cooperate with an outsider, but you learn of the misfortunes vandalism of the ruins, and Volo suggests where you might go looking for the bandits. You discover their camp, recover the wall piece, and once you return it, Kalaba is willing to help. She tells you Ursaluna has been agitated since coming down from the mountain. She doesn't know what happened, but it must have been the Diamond Clan's doing, since their settlement is up that way. She warns you that Ursaluna is very powerful, but she tells you where to find Ursaluna and where you can look for Teddiursa and Ursaring to learn more about it. So you do your research, collect the food that Ursaluna likes, and head to the Sludge Mound to meet this noble Pokemon. Kalaba is there, and once Ursaluna is fed and calmed down, Kalaba discovers it is covered in an odd powder. Ursaluna digs up the earth plate for you, then urges you to mount it. Its scent guide leads you up Boulder Roll Slope to Cloudpool Ridge, where you find Orezu hurt among a group of aggressive and agitated Pokemon. Once you defeat, catch, or calm down these Pokemon, Orezu tells you that at the top of the ridge, the noble Lilligant is dancing frantically, and its spores must be what's causing all the Pokemon to become aggressive. So, you research Petilil, and bring bombs made from the food it likes to the top of Cloudpool Ridge, where you find a glowing and dancing Lilligant. This is your second encounter with a truly frenzied Pokemon, but though it poses a bigger challenge, you know what you're doing now and can soothe it with ease. The Meadow Plate is now yours too. The next mission Kamado gives you is to explore the Cobalt Coastlands, where no Pokemon appear to be frenzied, but there are reports of people being attacked by ghosts on Firespit Island. You meet Warden Polina, who introduces you to 2 Growlithe, a large one and a small one, and tells you about the noble Arcanine, who used to rule over Firespit Island, but drowned, saving its pup, and how she doesn't want to force the little runt to evolve it and fill its father's shoes. She then directs you to Warden Iscan, who can help you befriend Basculegion for a ride across the water. You and Iscan make Basculegion's favorite food and summon it, earning you the Splash Plate. Just then, the Misfortunes show up and kidnap Polina's big Growlithe. You chase them to Firespit Island and battle them, and just as they are healing up and preparing for another round, Tiny shows up and evolves right in front of everyone and begins glowing with fighting spirit. I just hate the idea that Arcanine conveniently gets struck by lightning right as it evolves. Also, fighting spirit having almost the same effect as a frenzy gives a much better explanation for the rematches that you can do in the postgame. This is enough to scare off the Misfortunes, but Arcanine still wants to prove itself with the battle against you. If you haven't learned enough about Growlithe at this point, Polina can direct you to where you will find wild ones. You collect the food you need and return to Firespit with bombs and Pokemon ready for a showdown. Arcanine has 4 HP and feeding bars, and since its attacks are more calculated because it isn't frenzied, this encounter is far more challenging than previous ones. But you persevere and succeed. Arcanine grants you the Flame Plate. The next morning there's a bit of a commotion at Kamado's office. Ingo has come down to warn the Galaxy team that the noble Electrode is frenzied, and its great explosions are causing landslides and falling boulders on the Coronet Highlands, making travel extremely dangerous. Ingo wants the Galaxy team to help quell the Lord. Melee, however, is vehemently opposed. He insists the frenzies are a result of Almighty Sinnoh's favor. But Kamado and the clan leaders agree that safety is important, and the Pokemon seem to be suffering when they are frenzied, so you are sent to take care of the situation. Ingo accompanies you since he is familiar with the landscape and can help you make your way up the perilous mountain. Melee follows too, but to try to deter you, frequently challenging you to battles as you make your way up. Eventually, Ingo has to stop to consider the best way up, since Boulder Roll Ravine is too dangerous with all the falling boulders. This allows Melee to catch up once again, and he challenges you to yet another battle. Once defeated, he does not give up and challenges you again, but after another defeat, Melee is finally worn out enough to acquiesce. Luckily, the noble Sneasler happens to witness this encounter and approaches you. Sneasler grants you the Toxic Plate, but it also seems to want to help you scale the sheer cliff walls, perhaps as a reward for your perseverance or out of concern for its fellow noble. On Sneasler's back, you follow the sound of explosions and quickly reach the Sacred Plaza and the Electrode's Hollow. There are many Voltorb nearby for you to research and prepare. This battle is extremely risky and chaotic, with Electrode and several Voltorbs self-destructing all around. It takes expert dodging, feeding, and battling to overcome it, but you do, and Electrode rewards you with the Zap Plate. With that experience under your belt, Kamado and Silene feel you are qualified to go deal with another mystery, this one in the farthest corner of the region. A mysterious snowstorm that has persisted for days in the Alabaster Icelands. It is making the lives of the local Pearl Clan village very challenging, and exploring that area is almost impossible for the Galaxy team. Irida takes you to meet Warden Garrick at the foot of Avalug's legacy. You'll find several Bergmite around and even a few Avalug. Garrick knows the area best and will guide you to Ice Peak Plateau, where the storm seems to be the strongest. He thinks you look too weak for the job and is reluctant to guide you into such perilous conditions, but you prove your strength by defeating him in battle. Ice Peak Plateau seems almost empty, if not for the powerful mountain gale that blows from it. You walk out into the middle of the plateau, but still you can't see anything. That is when the ground starts to pitch and lurch. The plateau rises and you can't keep your footing and fall and slide off onto a nearby ledge. Turns out you were standing on the back of a giant Avalug, and though it appears calm, it is glowing. Its frenzy must be what's causing the endless snowstorm. Now that you know what you're facing, you and Garrick reconvene at Avalug's legacy. He says he has heard stories of giant Avalug in the area, but he had never seen one that big before. He knows what Avalug like to eat, eternal ice, but the best place to find any is at the top of Avalug's legacy. Pieces sometimes fall to the bottom, but if you could fly to the top, you could surely collect a lot more. Sabi and Braviary suddenly show up. Sabi says she had a premonition that you needed her help, but she would only give it if you played a game of chase with her. Naturally, you do, following her around the Icelands until you finally catch up with her at Snow Point Temple. There is a simple staircase up to the top where Sabi and Braviary challenge you to a battle, and when you defeat them, they agree that Braviary should help you. Sabi hands you the Sky Plate in acknowledgement. Riding on Braviary's back, you glide to the top of Avalug's legacy, collect a few pieces of eternal ice, and return to Ice Peak with bombs in hand, ready for your most challenging battle yet. Avalug is the first noble you encounter with its HP and feeding bars divided into 5 segments. It's a long and arduous fight, but you make it through, and when the storm finally clears, you find the Icicle Plate on the ground. When you return to Jubilife Village, Kamado congratulates you on another job well done. Although the rift does not appear to be fading, the great challenges of the Hisui region seem to be cleared, and exploration can continue more smoothly. Of course, that's not what happens, but it is where I will leave it for today. I think what I've shared so far gives you a good sense of the kinds of changes that I'm making, and also what most of the game would be like. Let me know what you think of this direction, and we'll pick up from here in part 2. Thank you to all of my patrons for letting me spend the time on this rewrite, especially luxury patrons Ethan from Chicago, Freebird Nerd, and Seafood Dinner, and Cherish patron Wispy White Smoke, who became a patron this month. If you don't like that I split this into 2 parts, blame Wispy, it was his idea. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next chapter.